definitely a good time here in DC at NAB2, North American Building Trades Union. So that's where we're at. That's where I'm at today. And that's certainly why my background's not my office today. So, but gonna give you an update. If you want to sit and talk about coffee cups, I went to the exhibit hall yesterday and didn't see any coffee mugs I could pick up. So today is just the standard hotel coffee cup. It's disposable, and that's what I'm using today. So definitely it's fine. Hotel coffee's just as good as regular coffee, I say. So but here we go. So what are the big news of Springfield? So all last week it was deadline week. So deadline week means that we need to pretty much pass everything out of the House that to the Senate. So that's what deadline week means a little bit. So we for the most part worked every single day trying to get our bills passed, hundreds of bills passed out of the House and over to the Senate. Now the Senate passed a couple hundred bills back to the House. So this is where the switch comes into play, and that's pretty much what we're working on. Now, first and foremost, though, before I give you a recap with regards to Springfield, I'm going to uh, just give a good shout out right now for Earth Day. So if you didn't know today was Earth Day, today is Earth Day. So 422. Earth Day, it was first held in 1970. So April 22nd, 1970 was Earth Day initially. Over 1 billion people in more than 193 countries around the world celebrate events for Earth Day. So 2024 has an official theme, just in case you want to know. It's called Planet versus Plastics. I know it sounds like a cheesy movie, but it's not. Planet versus Plastics unites students, parents, businesses, governments, churches, unions, individuals, and NGOs, non-government organizations, in an unwavering commitment to call for the end of plastics for the sake of human and planetary health. Looking at hoping forward to 60% reduction in the production of plastics by 2040 and the ultimate goal of building a plastic-free future for generations to come. So it's a lofty goal. I know a lot of there's a lot of dependence on plastics all over the place. So it would be nice to do that, but that's a good goal. So tomorrow, couple dates. Tomorrow is the Army Reserve birthday. So we're going to give a little shout out to that. My daughter's fiance now is in the Army National Guard and does reserve time. So the Army Reserves were founded in 1908. The U.S. Army Reserves commemorates its 116th birthday on April 23rd, and they are looking at recognizing the dedicated service of our 200,000 Army Reserve soldiers and civilians. So this year's theme, it's a theme thing. This year's theme is today's Army Reserve building critical skills for the nation. The Army Reserve offers over 120 different career fields and draws talent right from the community. Soldiers can answer their calling while building on their civilian profession or try a new career that fulfills a separate person. Now, as you guys know, my son's in the Navy. I was in the Marines. So the military is a great opportunity for folks. So um, not that bad of an issue. I talk to people all the time that's talking about sending their kids to college, how much college is going to cost. And I pretty much say that my daughter's going back to college and she's getting scholarships, and that my son's in the Navy and isn't going to need assistance when he gets out to go to college. So it's always a good opportunity. And then for our friends that are of the Jewish community, tomorrow is the first day of Passover. So Passover is one of the most sacred holidays in the Jewish community, and it begins before sundown. Um, well, before sundown Monday. Today's Monday. So before sundown Monday. So then tomorrow is the first official day of Passover. So what have we done this week in the General Assembly? Well, um, Thursday night we worked pretty much till like 10 o'clock at night. and then actually we adjourned and had committees after that because there's a 3 reading rule, and then there's posting requirements. And so sometimes committees have to meet so that we can consider the bills the next day. So Thursday night, there was a couple of things that need to be heard in committee, so that we adjourned. Some committees met. And then Friday was 3rd reading deadline. So 3rd reading deadline, we were in Springfield till about from 10 o'clock in the morning to about 5:30 in the evening. And then we all drove home and got home around 8:30, depending on where you live. Maybe, some people have a 4-hour drive. I have about 3-hour drive. And then so passed a lot of bills. So one of the things that the governor proposed in his State of the State/budget address was the healthcare. I want to say it's Healthcare Protection Act is what it's called. And so that passed out of the House. The Healthcare Protection Act is really quite a really important bill for so many people. And when we listen to the debate on the Healthcare Protection Act, it echoes, it really did echo a lot of things that I've heard as a state representative from people in the community. Step therapy, for instance, is a woman said that her daughter had asthma, and they had to go through step therapy first before they could get an inhaler, which is really contrary to health. If you're going to do that, step therapy is to get like cheaper methods of care that doesn't really seem to address the care of the individual overall. So that was a really important part of the healthcare for all, the Healthcare Protection Act. Um, and there's just a lot in that bill, and we really appreciated that bill. And I know that Anna Moeller carried that pretty much in the General Assembly, and it was a wonderful bill. And certainly a pinnacle. And actually, the governor was on the House floor when it passed. So it was nice that he was there, and really worked at helping draft the language and get it passed. Uh so the Healthcare Protection Act is really quite the it talks about the marketplace. It's really a detailed bill. But overall it's just going to do so much for so many individuals that excuse me, that really, um, I can't say enough about it. It's a great initiative. And individuals that want care, that need care, that call us up when you know we, they're in their last straw, and they're sitting there hoping that we can help them out. And you sit back and you just get frustrated because health insurance companies and then the MCOs, they they really don't seem to be there for individuals overall. And there is a profit-driven model, and certainly that has something to do with it. And they're trying to squeeze profits and then make a profit. I can't say it enough. But at the end of the day, the bill passed. It cracks down on step therapy. It cracks down on prior authorization and junk insurance, and it passed overwhelmingly bipartisan. And this is what government is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about bipartisan solutions that help people. So the bill is House Bill 5395, if you want to look it up on ilga.gov. And it's, as I said, the Healthcare Protection Act. And so a couple of the things, like I kind of pre-upped it. So a couple of the things that it does, step therapy. Like I said before, I know a woman who tore a ligament in her leg and had step therapy and was still not back to work a year later because of step therapy. Banning prior authorization for crisis mental health care. Now, this is a big one because we found in the mental health arena that that insurance companies want prior authorization for mental health crisis and ultimately deny people, which is not what we want. So, banning prior authorization for crisis mental health care, improving network adequacy. Now, this was a big one. It addresses ghost networks. Ghost networks is when you sign up for a health insurance plan and they give you a book of all the doctors that you can access through their care, and then you call individuals and they say that they're not accepting new patients, that they're not in that network, they don't know, or in some cases, the numbers they've closed and the numbers don't even work. So the bill talks about improving network adequacy, banning junk insurance plans in the state of Illinois, and ending unchecked rate increases for large group insurance companies. So, Senator Robert Peters in the Senate is the lead sponsor, and again, said Representative Anna Mueller in the House presented the bill, and it again really got bipartisan support. Republicans and Democrats um, voted for the bill, and I hope it's going to do great things. Three primary issues with the health insurance industry that we look at: utilization management, network adequacy, and rate review. Those three things were in there. We have seen that there are just unfair, what's called utilization management practices. Not to go into that much, but so the bill requires insurance companies to adopt the same definitions for medical necessity as doctors, require insurance companies to post all treatments that require prior authorization to help consumers make more informed decisions when they're looking for their plans. So sometimes when an individual has to get a big procedure, you need to get prior authorization before that. And if you don't know that, that can really affect the doctors that you go to. Ban, like I said, prior authorization for inpatient adult and children's mental health care. This is actually the first in the nation to do this. So um, leading the way. Illinois is leading the way. All the people that want to say bad things about Illinois, we are leading the way. We are really first in the nation to ban the prior authorization for inpatient adult and children's mental health care. So, additionally, I talked about junk insurance a little bit earlier. Illinois is joining 12 other states in banning junk insurance plan or short-term limited duration plans, which are dangerous and misleading to consumers. Junk insurance plans do not have to comply with the basic standards of the Affordable Care Act, such as covers for pre-existing conditions. So it really is a, it really is terrible. And so this would help out. Again, talked about network adequacy and the standards. So stricter standards for insurance companies as they update their in-network care directories, the actual availability so that they're just not fluffing their books. And companies are required to remove healthcare prevention professionals who are not in network anymore or no longer practicing in a timely fashion. And then rate review. Huge issue. The final initiative of the Health Care Protection Act eliminates unchecked rate increases in fully insured large group insurance carriers. This follows a similar action. We did this last year in June 2023. The governor signed House Bill 579, which ended unfair rate hikes in the fully insured individual and small group insurance market. So now this is going to be expanded to large group providers. So huge bill. I can't talk enough about it, and it's gonna help a lot of people. So really, really excited about this bill and all the help it can be for all the people in the state of Illinois uh and their insurance plans. So it's a huge thing. So what else are we working on today? What else passed the house? Why were we there for hours and hours, and what did we do? What did I do? So here's the thing. So a couple of things that I worked on. So we passed over 300 bills, and what we are looking at is first and foremost, I have a huge amount of bills for veterans, which is a great thing. Love it. Being the only female veteran and in the General Assembly. Um, I'm very, very honored to do that. So, what passed out of the Illinois House this week for veterans? Well, the first bill, and I'm going to give you the bill numbers. I know it's a lot of numbers. You can always look them up on ilga.gov. First and foremost, I want to say good morning to Roger. Roger was really doing, he's on and he's saying good morning. So, good morning, Roger. I just saw Roger actually at the VFW on Saturday. We were honoring woman Marine Jen Sloan. She does great jobs for the community and helped the Gold Star Family Memorial in Naperville if you haven't seen it. So, congratulations to Jennifer Sloan for winning the Citizens Award for the VFW on Saturday night. If you see Jen, she's a woman Marine. Give her a hello and congratulations. So, speaking of Marines, in honor of the 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, this is going to be next year, 250 years of the United States Marines. House Bill 4171 designates from mile marker 26 to mile marker 51 as U.S. Marine Corps Highway Semper Fidelis. So, next year, when you're driving down I-80, the bill designates mile marker 26 and mile marker 51, U.S. Marine Corps Highway. So those are going up next year, and that's House Bill 4171. We're looking at the House Bill 5270. Now, this one did not get out of the House, but it's something that we're working on. Occupational Therapy Licensure Compact. So what these do is they help military families who are relocating to Illinois from other states. It looks at their licensors and puts them on a fast track so that they can get right back to work. Military spouses, family members, it's really important. We're still working on that bill though. It's just very complex when we're looking at different states and different licenses, but it's something that's really important. Good morning, Ben. Ben says, thank you for the healthcare bill information. Hello from Litchfield. Oh, hi, Ben. How's Litchfield? House Bill 4757. So this comes, and I've talked to this before. Bills come fast for people in the community, and this bill came from individual with the United Steelworkers, District 7, and the AFL-CIO. Directs the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs and the Department of Labor to make available at no cost a poster to provide information on veteran and service members' benefits, information against fraud, where they can call to get their claim, the crisis line, and all the protection that they have. So that passed out of the House. House Bill 4934. We've had Stacy Boyer on, and it's an initiative of the Naperville VFW to restore the graves of departed veterans that are over 100 years old. That passed out of the House on its way to the Senate. An initiative from the Department of Defense to update the state laws to include the United States Space Force. House Bill 5640 presented that. There was minimal debate. There's no debate. So now goes off to the Senate to update all our legislative laws on the books. Have to include Space Force, which it's there and it is recognized in the state of Illinois. House Bill 5653 continues the work of the Veterans Service Related Task Force beyond the expiration date so that so we passed this 2 years ago. It was the Veterans Ailments Task Force. Now it's got renamed to the Veterans Service Related Task Force, and the motivated individuals on the task force wanted to keep on meeting and keep on doing the great work for the veterans in the state of Illinois. So we reauthorized that task force to keep going for another 2 years. And then working with the NIU Veteran Student Council, it turns out that there's a gap in our laws, and sometimes you just need a law to get something done right. So the law is that students who are part of the reserves or the National Guard, if they have to miss class because of a military obligation, that they should be able to make up that work. Sounds simple, right? Sounds a little bit common sense. Yeah, apparently some professors did not want to honor that and was telling military reservists and active guardsmen that they would have to drop classes, withdraw. This happens if individuals get drill on a Friday and they miss a big test, or they get their drill for pretty much a week or 2 weeks, and then they have to withdraw there as well. So the thought process was that um, if you miss a job, if you miss your job because of reserve duty, either in the Illinois National Guard or the regular reserves, the job has to honor that time. They can't punish you and or fire you for your military service. But some individuals were like, well, school is optional and you sign up for classes and you should be able to sign up and adjust your schedule around your military service, reservist and National Guard. And so because of this thought process, there are some professors that were telling students they'd have to withdraw or they'd most likely fail. That's wrong. And so we had to pass a law for that. So we did pass a law, 5655, and this says that institutes of higher education must allow a reservist or an active member of the Army of the National Guard. We have Army or Air National Guard, and they need to have a policy to be able to make up the work for these individuals. So had to pass a law to get that going. And then we did pass, or we do have House Resolution 443. House Resolution 443 is currently in committee. Resolutions don't have deadlines like bills do, so we'll most likely take up this resolution next week. But House Resolution 443 passed out of committee and honors our Cold War veterans in the state of Illinois for their service during a very difficult time in our history. If you don't know much about the Cold War, Grenada and Panama and all that went on, look it up. You'd be surprised to see what all went on during the Cold War that a lot of folks don't talk about. So, recognizing our veterans with regards to that, and then passed out of committee on the House floor, most likely will be brought up next week. House Joint Resolution 5354, 55, and 56. Now, working with Gold Star father Robert Patterson, and this is an initiative from Rolling Thunder Chapter 1. He's Gold Star father and Rolling Thunder Chapter 1. Um, Looking at these joint resolutions to honor those that were missing in action. Robert Patterson's son, Special STC Christopher Patterson, he was killed in action January 6, 2012. So these are joint resolutions. They have to get approval from the House and the Senate, but they don't need the governor's signature to become effective. So we are designating some highways around the area in honor of these heroes, fallen heroes. So House Joint Resolution 53 honors the memory of Sergeant First Class Ogden N. Thompson by designated Route 25 in Aurora from Sullivan Road to Ashland Avenue as the SFC Ogden N. Thompson Memorial Highway. SFC Thompson, who made the ultimate sacrifice during the Korean War and is remembered for his selfless service and unwavering commitment to his fellow soldiers. House Joint Resolution 54 commemorates Private First Class Wayne W. Hill, Jr. by designated Route 31 in Aurora from Sullivan Road to Ashland Avenue as the PFC Wayne W. Hill, Jr. Memorial Highway. PFC Hill, who bravely fought during the Korean War, made the ultimate sacrifice while in enemy captivity. House Joint Resolution 55 designates Route 31 in Batavia from Main Street south to Mooseheart Road as the SSG Robert D. Harold Memorial Highway. Staff Sergeant Robert Dale Harold was a distinguished member of the U.S. Army's 5th Special Forces Group, valiantly served his nation until his untimely death in the line of duty in South Vietnam in 1968. And then House Joint Resolution 56 memorializes Sergeant First Class Theodore Katsoulas by designated Route 59 in West Chicago from Route 38 to Route 64 as the SFC Theodore Katsoulas Memorial Highway. He served with distinction in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, went missing in action while bravely defending his comrades against overwhelming enemy forces. So when I talked to Bob Peterson, when we look at these he said so eloquently that his son got to come home and they got to I have the services for him and mourn him every day, but these individuals never made it home. So they're missing, still missing in action, presumed dead. And so we're honoring them. They made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation, and we are honoring these courageous men. And it's my honor to be able to do that, really. The littlest I could do for our Gold Star families is to honor them. So they'll be picked up in the Senate. I mean, they haven't passed House yet. They'll pass House next week, so they'll be picked up in the Senate, and we will put up those signs. So there we go. So Ben Giller said, "Yay for 5655." Shame on those professors. Well, you know, um, it wasn't good, but it'll be better now. So another bill that I passed that, believe it or not, does not fall in the veteran realm. I know I have a lot of the veteran bills. Oh, and another bill that passed out of the House was again, third time's a charm. Not getting off the veteran subject yet. Property taxes for veterans. So 5 years ago, the Illinois General Assembly passed a property tax exemption for veterans that are 70 to 100% disabled. Last year, we found out that there was a couple township assessors that were misreading the intent of the law. So I've said this before, we've talked about it before. The Department of Defense recognizes discharge papers as if you get benefits from the VA, then your discharge was honorable. So we have honorable, we have general under honorable conditions. Rare occasions, individuals got an other than honorable, mostly under LGBTQ sit or victims of military sexual trauma. And so the Department of Defense has deem that these are worthy of benefits, which in turn means honorable discharge, because there are certain codes that go along with those words that quantify what type of discharge it is. So, for example, I had an honorable discharge. I served 4 years active duty, no issues, no injuries. I got out. Not just my term of service. Now, if you were to serve and get injured and be medically discharged or can no longer do your job and it was less than a year, say 8 months, then you'd get an honorable under other, general under honorable conditions. That it's an honorable discharge, but it's a general under honorable conditions because you served less than a year. It has nothing to do with character. It has nothing to do with the individual getting the discharge. It has everything to do with the coding that's on the bottom of the discharge papers. Now, these few assessors do not know how to read 8214s. They've never been in the military. They've never been trained. So we did clarifying language to say that if you are getting a service-connected disability, then you qualify for property tax exemption. So for 5 years, individuals have been getting property tax exemption. Well, we have an individual and who have read into this and now are denying property tax exemptions that they've had for 5 years of individuals that have general under honorable conditions, still an honorable discharge. And so we clarified language to say that no, they still get their property tax. And then a second thing is in the law it says up to $250,000 worth of EAV. And we have some assessors that as soon as the house hits 250,001, they erased the whole exemption. Now that law was supposed to be like up to $250,000 in EAV, and then above that, you'd pay the tax on the amount above that. But some assessors are very aggressive and apparently really want to kick disabled veterans off of this exemption The problem is disabled veterans, they haven't escrowed for these taxes. They don't have the money for these taxes, and they are getting caught blindsided. So we passed the bill last year to fix this as part of a big omnibus bill. The governor vetoed a separate portion of the bill, and the bill didn't stand. So we had to rerun it. So we reran another bill in veto session to fix this and pass it over to the Senate. And the Senate didn't think it was time sensitive, which it is time sensitive, because now that that didn't get passed, we have disabled veterans having to try to appeal their taxes because they're starting to get notification of property taxes. So we passed it again, third time's a charm. Also included a exemption for World War II veterans in there. That was in the original two bills as well. Heading over to the Senate one more time. So by all means, we hope that the Senate will pick it up, send it to the governor. The governor said he will sign it as soon as it hits his desk. We need to do this for our disabled veterans. So I would say, if you're watching this, call your senators. And we got to get this going. We got to do this because if it doesn't pass, um, before the end of session and signed by the end of session, then we're really going to be causing disabled veterans a whole world of hurt, and it is like 100 to 200 disabled veterans are calling IDVA. Really, is that the right thing to do for these individuals? Well, I certainly don't think so. But that's the last bill on my veteran agenda that got passed this year out of the House. So another bill, working with King County State's Attorney Jamie Moster's office. So, what happened? And this is a very interesting scenario. And this is why we rely in the Illinois House on individuals and on input on a lot of individuals. So, in 2002, um, there was a law. So, a horrible situation happened in 2002. A young 11-year-old girl was raped by a drunken family member, and he claimed that he was drunk and he had drinking too many beers, and that he should not be held accountable because he was incapacitated. And the courts ruled in that supported that. They ruled in that manner. So in 2002, the General Assembly wrote a law that said, in essence, that if you're going to go and get willfully drunk, that you still need to be held accountable for your actions. In 2023, just this last December, the Illinois Supreme Court looked at a case about this scenario, and what it's called in legal terms, and I'm not a lawyer, but it's called the affirmative defense of voluntary intoxication. And evidence of voluntary intoxication may be considered by the trier of fact when determining whether the state has proven that defendants had the requisite mental state for a specific intent offense. So, what do Supreme Courts do? The courts interpret the law as it sits. The lawmakers make the law. The executive branch signs the legislation into law, or can veto it. That's our checks and balances. So this Supreme Court interpreted the 2002 law to have a glaring hole in it that, when looked at in a certain way, that the defendant's voluntary intoxication, they willfully went out and drunk, willfully went out and did drugs, could be used as a defense. Now, recently in Rockford, we had an individual fatally stab uh, innocent people, and he said that he had been taking drugs. Now, whether he had willfully taken the drugs or if the drugs were laced with something. Now, if they were laced with something, that's involuntary. If you are having a drink at a bar and somebody puts some kind of drug in it and you don't know it, and you know bad things happen, that's an involuntary intoxication. It's a whole different parameter. So what we're looking at is voluntary intoxication. So with the Supreme Court ruling, we had to adjust the law a bit, And so I was working with the Illinois Sheriff's Association, the state's attorney's offices from across the state, and State's Attorney Jamie Mosser to present and pass out of the House Bill 5271. And it does amend the criminal code to render evidence of a defendant's voluntary intoxication inadmissible for the purpose of wiping out or negating their criminal state of mind. So, you can still submit evidence of the defendant's intoxication, whether voluntary or involuntary. However, it is not a defense for the crime. So, it's one of those bills that I was very honored to present. It was bipartisan, unanimous, and went out of the House of flying colors, along with all the veteran bills were unanimous as well. And then mental health care for youth and care, we have a task force. It was formed 2 years ago. It just got together this year. So what we did was we extended out the date for which the task force can meet. We are meeting pretty much every week or every month. Sorry, meeting every month. Just really professionals in the mental health arena and looking at the care for every child that's under the care of the Department of Children and Family Services, so that they all get the mental health the support that they need, and that we have a comprehensive mental health care plan for each and every one of them going forward. Um, so that's another good thing. And then some of the interesting bills that come along is a bill about kangaroos, believe it or not. So Illinois kangaroo owners. Now the so kangaroos are not pets. Now, kangaroos are in zoos and they are in petting zoos, and they are in educational facilities, which is fine. But we had a bill, House Bill 4446, that would expand the list of outlawed animals to include two species of wildcats, severals and caracals, along with wallabies and kangaroos. Animals like lions, tigers, and bears are already banned from being pets under the current law. This was a bill sponsored by Dan Dittich. He represents the Buffalo Grove. And Dan Dittich, there were some questions about petting zoos, and petting zoos can keep their kangaroos under the care of a licensed handler. Now that's the key, is these animals are very specific, and they need to be under the care of a licensed handler, not just, somebody that thinks it's cool to own any of these animals, like kangaroo, a wallaby, any of these. Film productions. The bill exempts film productions to use these animals in movies, of course. It also prevents veterinarians who administer emergency medicine to ban animals from being sued unless the case of malpractice. And it passed overwhelmingly 67-34 and heads to the Senate. Um, so that's another bill that was really, the debate was kind of interesting when you talk about kangaroos and the ownership of kangaroos and wildcats and animals that should not be in people's homes. Then going on to this is just how diverse the General Assembly is and the lawmaking process is. Artificial intelligence. So bill backed by Attorney General Kwame Raoul would expand current child pornography laws to also cover artificially intelligence generated child pornography. So AI generated child pornography. AI generated child pornography rapidly is increasing. Law enforcement's ability to identify real cases is going to be more difficult. And she also said that while no real child may be harmed with AI generated content, the harm is that it normalizes abusive behavior against children overall. So again, overwhelmingly unanimous, got out of the Illinois House, goes into the Senate next week to outlaw the creation and sharing of child pornography. Another bill, 5142, the other bill, the AI bill, is 4623, if you want to look them up on ilga.gov. 5142 allows insurance company through certain state regulated plans to be extended to include doulas, midwives, home births, lactation consultants, breastfeeding supplies, and a lot more. So other insurance plans, like those that are federally regulated under the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, or ERISA, would be excluded. So when we pass laws with regards to these insurance plans and the Healthcare Protection Act, these are in-state plans. So the ERISA plans, they're federally regulated. Now, not saying it's not a bad idea, and if more states do it, then maybe the federal government would follow suit. But coverage of this type could save women's and babies' lives. Um, Implementing the changes would cost about $260,000, not a huge amount when we're looking at a $52 billion budget passed out of the House overwhelmingly 72 to 37. And then junk fees. We talked about this a bit before. Uh, so companies that aren't already subject to price regulations from imposing junk fees on consumers. We passed out the House 71 to 35. So the junk free ban pretty much is, and I was talking about this to some folks at the conference yesterday. When you check out and you see like convenience fee and all these different fees on your receipt, surcharges that cover, increase the cost of food rather than increasing the prices on the menu. Transportation fees, gas fees. When during COVID, you saw like gas fees put in delivery fees and for $1 and those kind of things. They're hidden, they're deceptive, they're a little predatory, and they're added by businesses without people knowing it. So that bill 4629 passed out of the House, going on to the Senate. And then the House passed a measure that requires the Illinois State Board of Education, subject to appropriation. That means subject to if we put money in the line item, to provide professional development to teachers regarding climate change curriculum. So this was my neighboring rep, Representative Janet Yang Rohr. She says teaching the topic of climate change is already required within the state school code due to its adoption of the next generation science standards. So those standards have been adopted by 44 states around the country, and the proposal would give ISB, the Illinois State Board of Education, the authority to provide training materials to teachers based on that curriculum. So it passed 70 to 37. It would require a one-time $300,000 expense, which would need to be approved separately in the budget. So subject to appropriation means that would be it. It's House Bill 4895. So I know you're hearing a lot of numbers and it's really boring, but this is what we did all last week, just hearing numbers and bills and talking about really important stuff. Transparency reporting measures to prisoner medical release hearings. It passed 72 to 34. So that is House Bill 5396. It's a law that's established a process for an inmate to petition the Prisoner Review Board for early release due to a terminal illness or a medical disability. So individuals that are, going to die in a couple months, under this bill, they can petition. They won't always be let go, but they can petition to be released under the act. And it clarifies that hearings concerning the prisoner's potential release are public by default, unless requested to be closed by the petitioning inmate. The petitioner has the right to attend the hearings and speak on their own behalf. It would require the Prisoner Review Board to provide public notice during the petitioner's name, attorney docket number, and the like. The Illinois Senate was passing bills. Now, last week was not their deadline week. Their deadline week was the week prior. So, the Senate passed a bill creating the Department of Early Childhood that's going to be coming over to the House. So, that was Senate Bill 1. So, definitely that's a good thing that's coming over. The Senate also passed the state mushroom. I'm gonna talk about it when it gets to the House, but it's I believe State Representative Musman is picking up the official state mushroom. Now, these designations, they come from children that do their research and that make their proposal. And Senator Seth Lewis was very honored to do that proposal. I think I might have talked about it last week, not last week, the week before. But definitely the state mushroom passed. It's coming into the House. And then finally, one thing that was really good is the American Association of Retired Persons is partnering with some Illinois lawmakers. We're supporting legislation to centralize information for caregivers, making it easier for them to make decisions for their family and loved ones with confidence. It's very difficult. Everything's all over the internet. Here we're going to have an Illinois caregiver portal, one-stop shop for state, federal, nonprofit, and professional caregiving information. It's going to be managed by the Illinois Department of Aging, and it passed out of the House as well. So, what else is going on? There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. For me, it was all Springfield all last week. This week, again, I'm at the NAB2 conference working and talking and connecting with um, labor leaders, not only from Illinois, there is a nice contingent here of Illinois lawmakers, but also just hearing what other states do. And that's the most important part about some of these conferences is being able to connect with and see what other states are doing. Obviously, Illinois is one of, or if not the most pro-labor state in the nation, but it's still interesting to hear and get input from all different individuals with regards to what their states are doing. So that's what we're doing here in Illinois. Healthy Illinois survey gets underway. So it's a statewide survey to assess the variety of health metrics so that we can, the Illinois Department of Public Health can better address the things that they need to do. Illinois Department of Public Health also awards $2 million in grants from and this is about reproductive rights, making sure that women have full access to reproductive rights, and that there's a provider capacity building grant program out there. So that goes to 3 different organizations that provide training that will increase access to safe, high quality reproductive rights of all of it. Female reproductive rights from ending a pregnancy to even or even facilitating the pregnancy, in vitro, all reproductive rights. So this grant, it grants to the Midwest Access Project, Planned Parenthood of Illinois, and the University of Illinois College of Nursing. So Illinois, under state law, gives full reproductive rights to women. Surrounding states have imposed restrictions on and the choice to end a pregnancy or not. And the number of out-of-state individuals coming in to end a pregnancy provided by women, it would decline slightly, but in 2022, the number provided in Illinois for out-of-state residents increased like 49%. So certainly, Midwest Access Project, Planned Parenthood of Illinois, UIC will make sure that women have health care in all facets of their health. So that's a really important thing. Um, Oh, Ben Giller says the number on the disabled veterans tax issue. I apologize for that, Ben. It's keeping me on my toes. One moment. I'm gonna go through my notes here. I want to say 612, but I don't want to be incorrect. 612. I was correct. House Bill 0612. It amends the tax code for veterans with disabilities. So, and gives that World War II exemption from taxation, regardless of the veteran's level of disability. I personally had 4 individuals that I personally know from World War II pass away in the last 6 months. So there's not many World War II veterans around as well. So House Bill 0612. Thanks, Ben, for and then we posted it on the chat too. So other than that, we looked at those programs. And then the United States Supreme Court is going to hear arguments in a bribery law that could shape uh, the laws that are, or the lawsuits that are here in Illinois, including the case against former Speaker Mike Madigan. So we're kind of looking at that. I'm not a lawyer, but it's interesting to see how that court case is going to come down, how it's going to impact individuals. So it's really the question is it a gift? Is it not a gift? And what role that public officials have with regards to things such as like gift giving and favoritism, for lack of a better word. Then just leaving you with a couple tidbits that might be fun. Uh, Komatsu mining truck was named the 2024 coolest thing made in Illinois. It's a mining truck manufactured by Komatsu. It's crowned the winner of the 2024 Makers Madness contest, earning the title of the coolest thing made in Illinois at the Governor's Mansion. That was on Wednesday. The truck was one of more than 200 entries in the fifth annual contest hosted by the Illinois Manufacturing Association. The bracket style contest lasted 8 weeks, collected almost 315,000 votes for the products entered, narrowing them down to the top 16, then the final four, and they were recognized on Wednesday as well. Now, the truck is made in Peoria, has a hauling capacity of up to 400 tons, and has new innovations in suspension, transmission, electronic drive technology, and autonomous operation. The truck weighs more than 1.3 million pounds. Now, who were the other finalists? Mullen's imitation French dressing, which is interesting, imitation French dressing, made by J.D. Mullen Company in Palestine, was founded by World War I veteran and Illinois entrepreneur John Mullen. And then number two was the MQ-25 Stingray drone refueler. This was built by Boeing in Masuka, Illinois, and is the first unmanned aircraft to refuel another aircraft mid-flight. And then lastly, Enviro Buildings Mod Box, made by Craig Industries in Quincy, is a modular insulated outdoor building used for construction and security offices. So congratulations to all of them. And then one of the really, I mean, this is a really great story to end with, and want to share it your way. Prairie Band Potawatomi becomes the first federally recognized tribal nation in Illinois. Now, I've met them. They've come to Springfield several times last year and in the years. And we were working with them, and the U.S. Department of the Interior announced the decision Friday, placing 130 acres into trust for the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, giving the tribal nation sovereignty over the land after the United States auctioned it off in about 175 years ago. So this is the first federally recognized tribal nation in Illinois. It has been established after the federal decision placed, like I said, 130 acres in trust. I know I'm repeating, but it's kind of cool. And the Department of the Interior placed parts of the Shabana Reservation land in DeKalb County into trust. So, what does this mean? So this land, it sits just southeast of Shabana, about 70 miles west of Chicago, was purchased by Prairie Band years ago, will be governed by the tribal nation, which is now eligible for federal benefits and protections as a result. The title for the land was signed over on Friday by Prairie Band Chairman Joseph Rupnick. So, what this decision does is it attempts to correct the historic injustice that occurred 175 years ago when the United States government auctioned off the nearly 1,300 acres of Prairie Band's land in northern Illinois, while Chief Chabanais was visiting family in Kansas, according to the tribal nation. So, they auctioned off nearly 1,300 acres, and the tribal nation today is going to get 130 acres. Far cry from what it was, but still something going in the right direction, trying to make sure that we continue to work on and work with our Native American tribes that are here, the tribal nations that actually are in Illinois. But you didn't realize that. But Illinois is very diverse. It's multifaceted, and it really is, in my opinion, an awesome place to live. So with that, I gotta head off to the conference. I'm in this conference all week. Again, meeting with labor leaders across the nation and in Illinois. and really really learning a lot. So, with that, have a great Monday. Today is Earth Day. Do something to celebrate Earth Day. And again, the Passover starts tomorrow. So, those in our Jewish community, we recognize and hope you have a very a very sacred Passover. And with that, have a great day. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. We are back in Springfield next week. Next week is deadline week to get the Senate bills out of committee. It's just deadline after deadline after deadline. And so as the Senate bills come in, we are going to be passing those out of the House. And still, as the chair pensions, still working on pensions. Tier 2 pensions is a big issue. Going to be working on it all summer long, but it has to be done for the state, has to be done for our employees, and overall make sure we have good policy going forward. So, with that, again, happy Earth Day. Have a great Earth Day. Thanks for people for zooming in, and we will touch base again next Monday. So, take care, y'all, and be safe and enjoy the outdoors now that the weather's changing. Take care.